The Fall of the House of Usher, Season 1, Episode 6, although there's only ever one season of this, so just Episode 6. Not many Usher children left alive at this point. I did put spoilers in the title, so let's talk about it. I'm trying to knock this series out. Mike Flanagan's final project for Netflix before he gets picked up by Amazon. So episode 6, I'm sure, references an Edgar Allan Poe story that I'm just not familiar with. I'm just gonna be real honest about that. There's a scarab, and it plays heavily into this whole thing, and I was lost. You know, I'm familiar with my Poe, but I would not call myself an Edgar Allan Poe expert. I even forgot that this Usher existed. I did. This is the Usher where I was like, wait a minute, who? Who is this? They're still alive? Who is this person? I don't know. She's got some weird name. I'm just going to keep throwing out weird T names throughout the whole thing. Tybalt. So Tybalt is... she's upset about stuff, and her husband is cheating on her, but she's basically just constantly on edge and angry. She apparently can't sleep. She takes sleeping pills and tries to sleep, and funny thing is she has no problem passing out. Just like, she just flat out blacks out sometimes, and but then when she's like laying in bed, she's like, sleep, please sleep. So it's a very weird character. So it's kind of waiting to see how her character was handled in terms of when Carly Gugino ends up sliding in and giving her essentially the choice. Like, she's basically given everybody else a choice. There's been a moment where they could technically walk away and presumably they'd survive, which is kind of the thing that I'm hoping that eventually, if we decide to get to Lenore, who is like the one character I actually like in the show, I'm hoping Lenore is given an opportunity and then she actually does take it and survives. If this show ends with Lenore dying, I'm immediately tanking the ratings to the show. I'm just gonna be like, sorry, F. We didn't need to kill everybody. Lenore can survive. Everyone else, don't really care about. They've all proved to be garbage people, but Lenore seems to be a very decent, nice person who seems to be good, who really should have an opportunity at doing something with her life. So, but this was an obvious. I mean, these Usher kids are just so terrible. I actually thought this was going to be Frederick's episode, because after last week with his whole like, I'm going to take my wife home and I can, do you know who I am? I'm not a civilian. I can build her the best hospital in my own home and hire, maybe if you're lucky, I'll hire you. You know, I was like, well, things are not going to work out well for him. But I guess there's another Usher sister. So, yeah, things don't work out well for her. The funny thing is that in all of the conversations that Daddy Usher, Bruce Greenwood, is having with Dupin, he kind of acknowledges the fact that she's already dead. You know what I'm saying? So there's a little bit of this already, like, because he asks, Dupin is like, how do you know these things? Like, you have all of this intimate knowledge of things where you were not there, and it was just these people. And he's like, because they told me. And then, of course, we see this scene with all these, like, horrifically mangled dead bodies, like, standing in the room. So presumably they had a conversation with him before that. So he's haunted by the ghosts of his children, and that's his cross to bear in life. And he still gets jump scares every once in a while. So there's a nice jump scare in here in this episode. and I would say it's a cheaper one. I'm gonna grade Mike Flanagan's jump scares now. I'm gonna give this one an eh. You can do better than that. This was more like a sound, although it is so random when it happens that it's I'm not gonna completely take it, but it's not like a typical jump scare where it's like, oh, there's a ghost standing behind me. No, there's just something else that happens, and I'm just like, come on now. I mean, pretty much anywhere where you're silent and there's a loud noise, you're gonna get somebody to jump scare. You can be in any film. I can be in any film, a non-horror film. I can be watching like Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and if the kids are all just like really quiet, then all of a sudden there's just like a, you know, anything. Something could have been knocked over. There could have been a crash of lightning outside. There's something about dropping the sound out of a film and then like bursting people with loud noise that I think would work in any film. It would work in like a Disney film. It would work in a romantic comedy. Like you could pretty much put a jump scare wherever you want if you do the dropping the sound out and then suddenly having inexplicably loud noises out of nowhere. Yeah. It's not a skill. It really is not. I could re-edit a whole bunch of movies and just put jump scares into them. You've got mail, done. You've got jump scare. Let's put it in there. Get it going. But yeah, so we're down to 2 Usher kids, and at the end of this, we're down to 1. So guess who's gonna die in the next episode? There's only 1 left. The suspense. I guess the suspense would be if Frederick gets to live, but Frederick has already been a terrible person throughout the course of the series. I really just don't see that happening. So, yeah, this girl, Tommen, is really angry towards her husband the whole time. She's angry to everybody. She walks around just naturally being bitchy just all the time. Very entitled. Yeah, so I wasn't surprised. But anyway, this episode went where I thought it went. I don't know which episode. I don't know which Poe thing this references. Sorry. But I like the audio description. It helps in the gory moments, I guess. Especially when she finds the thing in the box and you're like, what the fuck? So, it's a good series. Not my favorite episode so far. But you know, what are you going to do? They can't all be. Still, the one saving grace out of this whole damn thing. Whole thing. Luke Skywalker. The fact that after all of this, I'm watching this whole thing, and the takeaway for me is that Mark Hamill is a way better actor than we've ever given him credit for. That is what I'm learning with this project. I'm like, oh my God. He is phenomenal in this role. I love him so much. I just want him to spin off into his own series. He's another character where I feel like he's probably going to end up kicking the bucket, even though he's not an Usher. But I don't want him to. I really just don't want him to. He's so good. I want him to live for completely different reasons. I envision Netflix being like, Mark, do you want to do your own series based on this character? I know Mike Flanagan is, but it doesn't have to be a horror series. We just want you to keep doing this. More of this, please. Yeah, he's fantastic in this. If he doesn't get an Emmy nomination, I'm going to be so upset. Yes, please nominate Mark Hamill for this series. Anyway, that's it. That's all the praise I can heap upon it for one episode. I'm going to give Follow the House of Usher, Season 1, Episode 6, a B+. Like I said, it's an okay episode. I think I was less interested in it because I didn't know what it was referencing. Like the Telltale Heart episode, maybe I didn't like all the choices that they were making, but I got the reference. Here I was like, man, I did not read this story. This is not a Poe story that I'm familiar with. I'm very lost. But yeah, so 2 more episodes left. So make sure you click subscribe so you can be here when I review them. And until then, I'll see you guys on the other side.